Pac-12 hopes of getting back to the college football playoffs seem to be resting in the Great Northwest, and most people think Washington first, but then again, there are the Oregon Ducks as well. We got Ryan Winter on the line. You can join him at Sports Chat 503. Ryan, how you doing today?
Great, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.
How could you not be doing well? Look at that scenery. I cannot match that. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, the Oregon coast is beautiful. There's a lot of time where it's rain and everything, but right now it is gorgeous.
Let's talk about this football team that went to spring practice on March 7th, of course, concluded a season at 9-4 after a bowl win against Michigan State, kind of surprisingly with the firepower and most notably, arguably the best quarterback in the country, only 7 points on the board, but it's still a win at 7-6. Kind of the vibe, the feel around the program, the fan base following what was a productive season, certainly the best season that the program's had going back to 2014, 2015. But at the same time, a lot of narrow misses that could have possibly resulted in a Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah, hopefully they just learn from it. You know, this is a young team. You have your quarterback coming back, which is huge. Herbert is coming back, and everybody looks to be a Heisman candidate or possibility there. The big thing for Oregon is that they just run the football. They had two freshman running back last year who really took over. You had a senior last year who everybody thought was going to get great touches, but those two freshmen absolutely took over, and that's Travis Dye and his as a younger brother of the linebacker Troy Dye, and then the other one is C.J. Verdell, and C.J. Verdell really became the lead backer. He became the head guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how that offense shifts. Obviously, everybody knows they got a good quarterback and they're going to throw the ball, but I tend to think that the running game is going to be really where Oregon leans on it this year.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking Ducks and talking Oregon football, of course, with Ryan Winter from Sports Chat 503. Let's stay on the offensive side. So you lose some playmakers in the receiving core. What are the prospects there? And do you think it's going to really shift the run-pass ratio? But considering the quarterback you have, what are the thoughts?
Yeah, you would assume with the great quarterback, he's going to help to make some receivers better. But really, the receiving core is light right now. You brought in a transfer from Penn State, which hopefully will be good. But again, until they get in a uniform with our scheme and what we're doing, I don't really know. It's hard for me to make a judgment there. You also have some young kids coming in. The other one that's going to be a question mark is you've got Justin Herbert's little brother, who's a tight end. And I don't know what they're going to do with him. I kind of have an idea that you're going to run some heavy packages where you might have two tight ends. I tend to think that this is a team that, because they're a little bit lighter on their offensive side, on the corners, they might bring it in and stack the middle, kind of like what Stanford did a couple of the last 5-6 years, where they might not have that, 4 or 5 deep, but they might have one receiver on the outside, but they've got 5 or 6 tight ends that can all play. Oregon right now has a really good tight end room, so I tend to think you're going to see some more smaller stuff instead of the big, deep ball that Dylan Mitchell was really, really good at last year.
Ryan Winter on the line talking Oregon football. You can join him right here on YouTube at Sports Chat 503. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game. We love discussion, debate, and analysis unlike anywhere else. Let's go to the defense. You alluded to the defense. You had some outstanding playmakers who were moving on. My thoughts about the defense last year in regards to depth was there wasn't a whole lot there, but you just had some, you had 3 to 4 just outstanding dynamic talents. Now you've got a new defensive coordinator. And my other thought was that Jim Leavitt was one of the best in the business. He comes from Colorado. The defensive upgrade was significant in all the rankings, either the traditional statistics or the advanced metrics. The defense improved considerably under Leavitt, but not necessarily the best situation. And now you've got a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I tend to think the defense isn't going to skip too much of a beat. I really liked Jim Leavitt. I thought Jim Leavitt brought a lot of energy, and I thought he was really, like you said, Mark, one of the best in the game. I mean, if I were to pick top 5 defensive coordinators, or at least on impact where they have gone, he's in that top 5. The guy is a game changer for sure. I tend to think there might have been a little bit of a personality clash or something amiss there in that room. Late in the season, after the regular season, between the bowl game and the regular season, there was a lot of recruiting pictures, and everybody was showing all their pictures for the recruiting, and no Jim Leavitt pictures ever with any of the recruits. So it seemed like the writing was on the wall a little bit. But this new guy, Andy Alavos, is absolutely intense. I mean, he's the type of guy, it feels like, who's Mario Cristobal's type of a guy. I've said it before, where as soon as I hear Cristobal talking, it makes me just want to hit the weight room. And it feels the same way with Andy Alavos. The guy is intense. He's going to get guys in the right place, and he's going to really do it. He himself was a great player. He was a linebacker. And one of the best players at Boise State's history. So I tend to think he's going to really focus on the linebacking core. I think right now we've got Troy Dye, possibly the best defensive player in the Pac-12 right now going into next year, and he's looking to have a great season. You have some young guys up front who are the freshmen who are going to come in. Kayvon Thibodeau is the first one I tend to think of, but the guy you have in the middle is Jordan Scott. Jordan Scott is an absolute load, and he was a freshman All-American. He had a great sophomore season. The kid is an absolute stud. So I tend to think the defense isn't going to skip too much of a beat. You still have to have the deep end. You still have to protect the safeties. We lost a lot of guys there with Ugo, and we lost some other guys there. So it's going to be intense, but I think the defense is really playing well for Oregon right now.
Talking Oregon, the Ducks are ready to challenge in a loaded Pac-12 North Division with Stanford, Washington State as well. We got Ryan Winter on the line from Sports Chat 503. You mentioned, even though you're not a recruiting guy, Ryan, you do mention Mario Cristobal's charisma, enthusiasm, his ability to inspire people. Is that the lone secret in his recruiting success, which has been #1 in the Pac-12 this past recruiting season? And even though he got a late start the previous year, the second best rated recruiting class 2 years ago.
Yeah, I tend to think that he's got a secret sauce there. I also think that for whatever reason, that previous administration, that Mark Helfrich group, just did not offer the same amount of kids that this Cristobal and Willie Taggart group did. As soon as Willie Taggart got there, he offered to everyone. And it didn't matter if they were already committed somewhere else, he was offering. And what we heard back was kids from the South were saying Oregon was their dream school. Now, again, this could be, any kid might say that, but Oregon has a lot of facilities. They have a lot of stuff going on that maybe other schools don't offer. And I do think that Oregon's hype and buzz in that 2012, 2013, 14, 15 time, that was a real big era that you had to jump on. We just didn't see those recruits coming in. So I do think that Cristobal has a great personality. He's got great charisma. He's gonna sell it. But I also tend to think that he's now offering kids that just were not being offered before.
Yeah, it's a good point, because kids who are 12 to 15 may not necessarily just lock into winning. That team won the championship. I want to go play for them. But you have to be good to be obviously on TV and in the big games that they're watching. But with the uniforms and the style of offense and all of that working for you, for that 12 to 15-year-old at the time that is now ready to sign a national letter of intent, that should be capitalized upon. No question about that. And Oregon was super hot from about 2008 or 9 up until that national championship run against Ohio State. Got Ryan Winter on the line of Sports Chat 503. You got the spring game coming up here 3 weeks away on April 20th. Anything in particular that is going to make you feel a little bit better about the Ducks?
I think it's the scheme. I think they've talked about changing the scheme on defense. Everybody loves to say 3-4 or 4-3. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter to me as long as you make tackles. I tend to think that the way that you set up the offense it used to be a spread offense. Mario Cristobal has changed that. We're now playing much more in a box. They're tightening things up. They've got much better linemen, and they're running through tackles. So I tend to think that you're going to see the defense try to answer what the offense is doing and kind of play in a box as well. It's not as spread as it used to be. It's not as wild out as it used to be. But I do think that Herbert is going to want to throw the ball. If you have a quarterback with that kind of arm, again, top 10, top 5 NFL arm potential, you're going to want to throw the ball. So it's going to be interesting to me to see how the defense reacts to the offense. I do think the offense right now is in a better position than the defense, but it's going to be fun to be there.
Okay, Ren, I don't know that I need to tell you to enjoy yourself. I think that's a given. But I will say enjoy yourself. We appreciate you taking a little time out of the fun to give us some insight and information on the Ducks.
Appreciate it, Mark. Always a pleasure.